All right, you're looking live at Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks. I'm the host, DJ. I tell you what, aka Cowboy Jules, and I have my dad, my co-host, Cowboy Joe, aka Capricorn One, on the scene as well.
Appreciate you guys joining. And after a tough loss, we're gonna kind of get into some of the ramifications on what's happening right now in Cowboy world. So it's been a rough couple of days, but hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to dice it up and sort it out and see what we're gonna do, pathway forward. So if you listen to Jerry today, what's your thoughts about Jerry's interview? I haven't actually listened to it, but I heard parts of it. So you probably.
Well, I mean, my thing is Jerry is like it's like kind of what we're gonna be talking about today. It's just kind of like if you really understand the dynamics of how this organization is ran, then you can you definitely have to point the finger at Jerry, but at the same time, we all know that it's under our belief that Steven is really running the team. So you're going to see a lot of finger blaming, but at the same time, no matter what's happening, Jerry is the face of the franchise, and he's the fall guy if it only once it blows up, or if he gets credit for it, or if he gets credit for it regardless if it's good or bad, because this is his team. But as far as the people that's actually running things, I think it's more of like Steven and Will McClay. Those are the people that's actually running the team. And so when I think that Jerry is just the face, he has to say what he has to say, because what he said today is, if you try to make sense of it, it's just like, Jerry, what you're saying is inaccurate. It's just not right. What you're saying is, like, for instance, he said, if you're going to point out the things that I do right, things that I do wrong, then make sure that you point out the things that I do right. Well, it's just like, Jerry, you really can't say what you to point out the rights, because they wasn't right enough for us to win a championship, Jerry. So you haven't done enough right. Everything obviously to this point has been way more wrongs than right. So it's just like, but they have their own, the only difference between Jerry Jones and another general manager to me right now at this point, and what they would do and what they would say, is that there's no checks and balances with Jerry. He can't fire himself. So the good thing about it is that we can all see what's going on. It's not like the Cowboy Nation, we're not worried about one specific. We're not worried about a lot of things and trying to figure out what the problem is. We know what the problem is. It's very simple what the problem is. They don't build their team right. They don't pay the right people contracts. They don't pay their contracts on time to save money. They don't utilize free agency. These are things that they are crystal clear that they don't do. He came out today and said, we're not participating in any free agency or trades. We're not doing it. And that's just the answer. It's not we know it don't work. But
he actually said that?
No, but that's the message that, actually said which part? That they're not participating.
That we're not participating in free agency or trades.
Yeah. He said he doesn't expect us to make a move. It was reported just about maybe, let me see, I'll pull it up. It was on Bleacher Report. Jerry, Cowboys won't be active. Jerry Jones doesn't expect to make moves ahead of November 5th deadline. That's by The Athletic. So yes, he said that. If they saying that, then he said that. So that's what he said. So
yeah, you gotta, Mike Fisher used to do this years ago. Shout out to Mike Fisher. He would just call it translating Jerry. People got to understand too that when he says something, that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. And sometimes the exact opposite can happen. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they do make a move. It wouldn't shock me if they don't. So they really, when they do interviews, what I've been talking to chatting with people about today is we are really at the point to where I'm calling it. You pull up my illustration I sent you. So, are you able to get it up?
I'm trying to figure out how I can share it. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, if you can't share, don't worry about it. If you can, well, either one of them. One of them that I sent, but we're really getting close to the point to where, and this is not going to happen. We're really getting to the point to where interviewing Steven or Jerry really this type of thing, and you can't really get to the bottom of what's going on, and you really can't do real journalism with them. So you have to just kind of ask yourself, is it even worth interviewing them? Now, some of the national writers, like I see that he did what he did this morning with the guys at 105.3 The Fan, which really blew up. But later he did an interview with Diana Rossini, and I read that before we started our show. And he actually told her that the guys that he did the interview with this morning, he's not going to let them drill him on anything that's going on because he pays them. So in other words, like, I'm paying you guys, so I'm not going to answer any tough questions from you guys. So that's really not cool. So
he basically
those guys,
told
they have to ask themselves, do they even want to?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, he said that he basically after he said what he said, after Jerry said that, like, you're not gonna be asking me questions about I can basically say you're not gonna be asking me. That's what I was saying. That he was like, basically, you're not gonna be asking me questions and pointing out all the wrong things that I've done, and blase, and not talking about the right things that I've done. But I can find somebody else. I will get somebody else to ask me these questions. So let's get it straight. And then we're gonna do translating Jerry. From that point on, it was about it's big me, little you. Don't you forget who you're talking to. And the rest of that interview was just Jerry talking. It wasn't like they was trying to ask questions after that, but they really couldn't because he started talking and he did not stop. And if we know how he acts especially when he's upset, so he was just like, listen, I'm telling y'all what's happened. I'm finna tell y'all a whole story for 10 minutes. And then, he got his point across. And then the next question that they asked him, they asked him about Deron Blade, and he was like, yeah, now that's a good question. That's more like it. Oh no, they asked him about Tyler Guyton. He was like, yeah, he wasn't ready to go. And that's the answer on that. And that's why. And that's a good question. So good job on you. So it was kind of like, he was just like, listen. But to your point, my whole thing, what that says to me is, I'm just here taking the fall for this because Steven is doing this, and I'm a part of it. But this is Steven's guy. Y'all don't know what I'm doing. Y'all don't really know what's going on anyway. Y'all just the fans, and we don't really care what y'all think anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like, listen, it would take a blind man to see that they've messed up. But to your point, I think they're pointing the fingers at each other right now.
So we're going to talk about the game here in a minute, but my theme, and I shared Stargazer, and what we're seeing happening now, which we're going to kind of break it down, is their chickens are coming home to roost. That's kind of what's happening, and sometimes it just takes a while for this to happen. But with the way that they operate the franchise, at some point, it's all gonna, the rubber is gonna meet the road, and that's kind of what we're seeing. That's why we had to blow up this morning, because when those chickens start coming home to roost and that rubber hits the road, this is what you're going to end up with. And I was talking about that Spider-Man meme that I sent you.
I'm going to pull that up now.
What I think is going to happen, what we're about to see happen. So you can call it a circular firing squad or whatever you want to call it, or the Spider-Man meme. And so I think Jerry and Steven, they probably are sort of second guessing each other. Jerry is probably saying to himself that he would probably like to do some of these trades and sign some free agents, but Steven is not a fan of that. And so Jerry's probably looking at Steven and saying, okay, I'm taking all of this heat now because this is the way you want to do things. And then Steven is probably looking at Jerry from the standpoint of we can't really do trades and do free agency because you're probably, so I think they probably done kind of cut off our nose to spite our face here, and that's kind of what's showing. And so this is the world famous Spider-Man meme that everybody talks about, where it's just like, it's you. No, it's you. No, you screwed this up. No, you screwed this up. And then McCarthy, what he's doing. So McCarthy and Jerry, they have their own little thing going too. So Jerry, I still say that he's not a McCarthy guy. So Jerry's probably saying, what I gave you to work with, if you're a good coordinator, you should be able to do what Andy Reid has done. You should be able to do what Sean McVay and Shanahan, based on what I've given you to work with. And so you're a coach, you say you're a good coach. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to hire Dan Quinn as my next head coach, and you're here. So just take what I give you and make, water into wine. So, this is kind of like your problem. You figure it out. And then McCarthy is probably saying, okay, you didn't really equip me with the people that I need to make this work. So I'm just going to show you that we don't really have the people that we need to run a good offense and have a good team. So that's probably what's happening now. And
it's just way more logical for us, like, to add to that. It's just way more logical for also for McCarthy to say, for Jerry to tell McCarthy last year, okay, this is what's about to happen. That was your chance to really get us there. You lost in the first round to your previous team. This last year, we're finna rebuild our team, and what we finna do is we're not finna spend no money in free agency. We're not finna spend no money in nothing. So, with what you got is what you got, and we're gonna sign Dak and CD, but we're not gonna re-sign you. So you need to. This is your last year, unless you do something with what you got. And now the fact that he's not doing something with what he has, he just knows that this is it. And while they're failing, that's going to be their reason at the end of the season to say, we got rid of McCarthy, and he just coaching his contract out. It's already understood that we wasn't doing nothing with free agency or nothing this year, because we're not doing that, and then bringing somebody else in next year, and it never works that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to just stand put and save all our money. And we're going to basically rebuild this team and not tell the fans. It's going to look like we doing something, because McCarthy is going to still be the coach. But really speaking, we're not concerned about the results of this year. We're not. Our focus is next year. Because if it wasn't that, then they would be focused on the now. It's literally like the all-in thing. No, he's not all in today. He's saying, yeah, I'm all in, but my plan is to get to a Super Bowl in year 26, 27, 28 and just save all of. That's the only logical thing that it makes. Now, what you're going to say is that's not what they do.
Well, what we're going to have to do is, like I said, we'll just break it down as the week goes on. I think that both philosophies are misguided from their standpoint. I don't know if they understand what it takes to build a team, because to build a team, you have to participate in free agency. You have to not only just build through the draft, you got to do both. I still just think that's a barrier for them. So we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about just kind of their what they're doing as far as their philosophy that's causing these chickens to come home to roost. But looking at the game Sunday, and we ain't even got to spend a lot of time on the game because it was really just a disaster. But what I've said, and I've been just talking about this, is the offensive side of the ball, to me, still has to carry today. And if they don't carry today, we're not going to win. Our offense is our best defense. And our offense, they have to just play well. They can't just come out there and three and outs, guys running the wrong routes, guys running into each other on the routes. Dak is turning the ball over. So we're not going to have a chance if our offense just doesn't play well. In our defense is not the worst defense in the league. They're probably average. Sometimes they can play above their head like they did in Pittsburgh. But the key thing is, offensively, you just can't have turnovers and have three and outs. You're putting our defense, you're hanging them out to dry. That's not the kind of defense that we have. So I still think that Dak and CD and the players that we have on the offense, they can be competitive. And if they are, it's going to help our defense, and we'll have a chance to win some games. But they talk about complementary football. For our team, that's on point. They have to play off each other, but that's not what's happening. And so you saw that again Sunday. Our offense was just out of sync. They were not on the same page. We had a situation with Rico Dowdle not playing the way he played great against Pittsburgh, and then this inexplicably Sunday he gets no carries. And
let me break that. Let me say what I think was happening with that, because I went over that in my head a few times. And so what I think that is literally like you just said, they're pointing the finger at each other. So Zeke made a comment in the media. We speaking to the media in the locker room, and he said he didn't know what his role is, and he said some stuff. He talked to the media. He made the headline. That's what everybody was talking about. And so when he said that, all of a sudden he starts the next game at home on Jerry's birthday. Oh, what a coincidence too. And then it's just like he was just like, so Mike McCarthy on the other hand is saying to himself, you told me at the beginning of the season that we was not getting Derrick Henry. We was bringing Zeke back. That's what you told McCarthy and Dak and the rest of the offense. That's what y'all told them. And then y'all said, so, Dak, you make a big deal out of it to show how happy you are. And that's what he did. And then when Dak would have been just as happy with Derrick Henry. But anyway, so then McCarthy says, you know what, I'm going to give you what you're asking for. If you want Zeke to play, or y'all asking me why Zeke ain't playing, I'm going to show you that. We're going to let him play this whole game, and we're going to see what happens. They do that, and they get killed. Their offense don't do anything, and it ain't Zeke's fault at all, because like I said, Zeke would be a whole other different Zeke on the 49ers team. He would, if he's not good for anything, the things that he are good for, he will be doing. He would be scoring touchdowns. He'd be getting first downs. He'd be coming out the backfield every now and then. And he'll just be like, you know how the Lions was doing us when they had little trick plays? We'll have a little plays for Zeke to get the crowd crunk. He come in on 4th and 1, do his thing, get a touchdown. They don't do that. Goal line. He come in, goal line. All he got in him is a couple jukes, and he'll sacrifice his body for you. Y'all not even utilizing him for that. Y'all put Rico Dowdle in and almost caused a disastrous game to be even more disastrous. And we won. We almost didn't. Dak saved the day because he was the only one that saved the day, because that was finna be over when they would have, if they would have caught that ball, if he would have recovered that ball, the game would have been over. And so Dak is also a deer in the headlights. But see, now we not this now. See, now at this stage in the game, we're not surprised that Dak is a deer in the headlights. You see what I'm saying? Like, we knew that. We knew that going into the game. We said, hey, if they get down by 2 touchdowns, that gonna be a deer in the headlight at least a couple times before he catch us back up. That's generally how it goes. And that's exactly how it went. He got down, and every time he got so, because you remember Dak had that year where he was just letting everything rip. And when he came back, not last year, the year before last, he was just aggressive. No matter what situation we was in, he was aggressive and he led the league in picks, like Josh Allen. So the next year was last year, and we played more complimentary football. We was always getting takeaways. But see, if you don't have a defense that's getting takeaways, that's what Dak needs. Dak needs a defense that gets takeaways because he needs more reps. He needs more reps with the offense that he got. He needs to do that. They play ahead because they're not good enough. So you have to incorporate natural things like we need to be up by 14 points and then we can coast, or we need to be up by 7 points. But then they can't even get the ball first and score because it's no one. They don't have the talent. That's what I was saying. Well, that was scary for me about the season because we just realizing that it's not rocket science. It is what it is. It's just like we just having to realize that there is no checks and balances with the GM. Okay, so what happens is happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. If Jerry says that, if Jerry and Steven say that, and then see Jerry and Steven, everybody needs to just look at them like an entity. They are one. So, but they're the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, and we're just breaking it down to what the left side of the brain would do and what the right side would do. The right side of the brain, or the left side is Steven hiring McCarthy, that being Steven's guy. Will McClay, that's Steven's guy. All they guys. But he is, I seen this thing on Bleacher Report today. Oh, they was looking at the Cowboys first round draft picks for the last 10 years. They hit on like maybe 8 of the 10. They didn't hit on Taco. They ain't hit on Mozzie. They ain't hit on Tyler Guyton. They ain't hit on. Well, Tyler Guyton is we don't know yet, but
they didn't hit on LVE. They thought it was a hit
on LVE. But then the ones that they hit, now we saying that the ones they don't hit on, and we already at like 4 or 5. It's only 10 years. So the other ones that they hit on was the obvious picks like CD,
Micah,
Zeke, Micah,
Tyler Smith.
That wasn't an obvious one, but he still became. They got lucky. He became an All-Pro, and which don't never happen. Rookies don't just come in and be All-Pro. Okay, so that don't work like that. So he's really good, and then but other than that, that's 4. So that means it's one we missing. So that means that they not a good drafting team. Everybody else after that, we don't even remember who, and because they not here anymore, and they got contracts to do too, like Jalen Smith. These are picks that they just been picking for years, where it just be like, and then they pay these people, and it's a 2nd through 7th round. Every now and then you're gonna get your Deron Blands, you're gonna get your Dak, once every blue.
Overshawn.
Well, Overshawn it's a dead giveaway. He one of them type of players. He will be going. See, the problem with the Cowboys is like, Jerry don't want to they talk like this information is not public knowledge. Like we can't see what the salary cap is. Like we don't know who the top 100 players are that come out of college. We know who they are. We study just like everybody else do. Some people that's all they do is literally go to work, come home, do whatever they got to do, and every extracurricular thing is about looking at the Dallas Cowboys cap space, looking at free agents for the Cowboys, looking at all of this stuff, and so looking at when draft time come around, it's like a whole new thing that's set off in my brain. I immediately start looking and scouting other players and looking up where they come from, who they are, who needs what do we need, where they gonna get picked. I love that process. So when you pick Mozzie Smith, I know that's a bad pick because I know other players that you could have took right there that's gonna be better. I know, and the majority of people know, and it turns out to be that's what happens. It's just like sometimes, like with TJ Watt, the majority of people knew when they passed on TJ Watt that was a mistake. That was a mistake. A lot of people knew that. It wasn't no secret. So it's just like, no, y'all don't draft the good. Y'all don't. Will McClay, you don't draft good. Sometimes it just is what it is. You're not a good GM.
I would say that their reputation is that they're great at drafting. I would say that they're good. They're not fair or poor. They're good.
I don't know.
But people give them a reputation as being great. So, but yeah, we're going to just do a whole nother show about how the way they operate this franchise, just the way it's structured and the way they do things, because we're just seeing teams that are compared to them. Everybody talks about what the Rams did a few years back when they said, screw them picks and they spent all this money in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
That's the excuse that everybody tries to give Dallas.
That's the excuse, though.
Yeah, but that's just a bad example because it's teams out there that are very similar to the Cowboys. Kansas City is at the top of the list. They're very conservative. The Ravens are conservative. Buffalo, they don't spend a lot of money in free agency and trades. What these teams are doing, they just make smart trades and they make smart signings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Cowboys are just not doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But going back to what you said on McCarthy, I do think that it's both sides. They didn't really give him, the tools to work with, but at the same time, the tools that he has, he's just not using them. His offense is not efficient. Mm-hmm. He uses motion one week, the next week he doesn't. The offense is predictable. The route schemes are the route and running schemes are not good. So, he can point the finger at Jerry, but the bottom line is he is not doing a good job with what he has. So, and it's making it worse. Your team didn't participate in free agency. They didn't do certain things, but you're making it worse by the way that you're using your personnel and your plays. His offense is just antiquated. Every play, they're struggling to get a yard. Brian Broaddus talks about this over and over and over. Every pass play, it's just a struggle to get the pass completed. It's a struggle to get. They had a series of plays Sunday where they had a negative 39 yards. So they had 3 drives. They didn't get 10 yards on the drive. They had a negative 39 yards. They didn't
in the second quarter. It was the whole second quarter was negative 39 yards, and then in the first couple of minutes of the third quarter was the same way because as soon as when they came in, they scored. So
yeah, so that's just inexcusable. And we've seen this before. The first time we played the 49ers in the playoffs, when we played them here, when we lost, one of the things that just killed us in that game, late in that game, we had the ball in their territory twice.
Yep.
We were in their territory, and both series we didn't gain 10 yards. So we had 8 downs to get 10 yards, and we didn't get 10 yards. So
that would have won the game. Would have won the game.
Now just think about this. Do you think you could watch a Kansas City game, a San Francisco game, a Rams game, a Detroit game? Could you put them in any situation where you gave them the ball twice and they wouldn't get 10 yards? That's just incredible. So the Spider-Man meme that we talked about earlier, it's true. There is finger pointing, and it goes all the way around.
All the way around. The only person they don't go to, in my opinion, is the players. That's it. Because it's not their fault at all. Because we can sub them out.
And by the way, one of the things I want to talk about too is, and we talked about this on one of our early episodes, there's this thing that people will say the players quit on the coach. So my personal belief is these players, especially a lot of the players, if you're not Dak, if you're not CD, you're not making millions of dollars. A lot of these players, their careers are on the line every Sunday in terms of they know if they don't go out there and play well, if they don't execute, if they go out there and play bad, the NFL life doesn't last forever for a lot of these guys. These guys got mortgages, they got wives that like to shop, they got parents they're taking care of, they got cars, multiple cars. Some of these guys have investments. So players, NFL players, they don't go out on Sunday and just quit. What does happen is when a coach is giving you crap to work with, when you know the system is crap, that's when the players just say, you know what? You messing with my money. This is a bunch of crap. You got players running routes, running into each other. You got me running routes where I ain't got no separation from the defender. I'm a running back and you handed me the ball and I'm running into a wall every play. Players quit on that. They don't quit on the coach because all of the players, they like McCarthy. It's no doubt about it. But they just look at the system and say, it's crap. That's what they quit on.
Mm-hmm. But it's just like, yeah, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. That's what they quit on. And then also them quitting on that doesn't necessarily mean that they quit because we seen, I think, in my opinion, I think that's a double entendre. I think that you're right, but you can add on to it even when they're doing good sometimes. Because like, look at last year. I think Dak and C, they quit on McCarthy like game 4, and when they went in at halftime and said, you know what, for the rest of the way, this is what we're going to do. And that's why, everyone likes to say that they took over the offense. Well, I hope that was true, because tell me, what sense does it make for how illogical is it for you to do all of those things last year, like motion, and for you to be the number one offense in the league per points? We put the most points up on the board. How do you because only thing you lost was Tony Pollard, which you lost your run game, and you lost your left tackle. So if all of this is from losing that, why don't we see any motion? Why don't we see anything that you were doing last year? It's like you're not conscious of what happened last year. It's like it literally seemed like McCarthy just tossed his whole playbook and was just like, this is what we're going to learn this year. Because it's just like, none of this, we haven't seen any of this before. What?
Well, and that goes back to the Spider-Man meme. That's what Jerry is saying. Jerry is saying probably the same thing. Like, yeah, we didn't do free agency, blah, blah, blah. But you're a coach. You've been around a game for a long time. You need to come up with something.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people not going to say this. Jerry also said this. Now, you just got to just be a psychologist, like a psychiatrist with this, with Jerry and Steven. You just got to know some ins and outs to be able to analyze what they saying. Jerry was like, translating Jerry. Jerry said, you know what? I'll look at that. I'll go look and see. I'll go look at if we didn't do anything in the offseason and in free agency. At the end of the year, I'll look at that and see if I need to change that. I'll look at that.
Yeah, but again, translating Jerry, so that doesn't mean anything.
To me, that means like at least he's acknowledging that he knows he knows that this is wrong. At least we got that much. We know that that what we're saying is absolutely right, and this was dumb and it was wrong, and this is what y'all did. Now Jerry is just like, listen, like you said, he pointing the finger at Jerry. I mean, he pointing the finger at Steven and McCarthy. He just getting the blame for it and having to be the face of the franchise because they always come back to him. So he just mad. He mad just like we are probably.
So what we're gonna talk about tomorrow is there needs to be a sea change. It needs to be like a earthquake event, and they've done it before. And a lot of people don't probably, some people probably do agree with it when they look back over it. I think when he hired Bill Parcells, I think that was a sea change. Bill Parcells did change the culture. He changed the way they drafted players. He changed the mental toughness and the physical toughness of the team. There's a lot of discussion about which team had the best chance of going to the Super Bowl in recent years. People say it's the 2007 team. I think it was the 2016 team, but that 2007 team that went 13-3 and lost to the Giants in the first round, they got upset primarily because T.O. was hurt. If T.O. was healthy, they don't lose that game.
Right.
But Parcells built that team. That was his team. No, Wade Phillips was the coach, but that was Parcells' team. The year before is when they lost to Seattle in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Romo dropped the ball.
Yeah,
they were gonna win that game.
Sean was on the staff.
Who?
I can't remember, his name is escaped. Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton had left then, but he was part of it. Todd Bowles was on that staff.
Right. This is the team that Parcells built.
Yeah, so we gonna talk about solutions and what we can do, because I don't like I always tell you.
Oh, you want to talk about solutions? I got one right now that I know how you can change the whole thing.
What? You hire this year or going forward?
Going forward.
Oh yeah, well yeah, go ahead.
You hire Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator, as your head coach, and you hire Robert Saleh. You said this yesterday. Somebody said that. Hire Robert Saleh. Or listen, the whole thing is that the way that they hire, because Brian Broaddus said this, and it was just shocking to me for him, shocking to me to hear him say that. So shout out to Brian Broaddus, because we've been saying the same thing, and it's like he said what we said verbatim, and then he added his own spin to it, and that just gave me so much when he was just like, the way that they hire people is wrong. What you have to do is you have to say what you want to say is, I want every offensive coordinator, head coach, whoever they are, that's moving the ball up and down the field all the time, constantly, and they're doing it well, doing it at a high success rate. I want a list of 100 people. That's the list I want. Give me a list of 100 people, and let's start breaking it down. And at the end of the day, if you come up with 5 people, and you got Ben Johnson right here, Bob Slowick, and then you got these other 2-3 people that don't nobody know, then it just depends on how good they interview, and it depends on what their philosophy is as far as moving the ball from point A to point B with what we have so far, and then what's coming up next in the draft. So you could easily do that with Ben Johnson, pay him whatever he want. Rob Saleh, pay him whatever you just pay them their salaries. And from that point, you also need to, that's a seat change.
Yeah, what we're going to talk about tomorrow, we're going to talk about how that doesn't happen, because at the root of the problem is the way they handle the football business is that just doesn't allow that to take place. So we're going to talk about that. But so from the next game, we play the 49ers. Okay. So we got basically 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about what do they need to do to fix this team. And I still think they got some moves they can make to fix this team. And I feel like,
does it involve free agency or trading at all?
I think they can make a trade or two. And of course, we're going to talk about whether they will actually do that. Right. But I think they can do some things to be competitive, because at the end of the day, we 3-3. You ain't gonna just take a 17 game season after 6 games and say, we getting ready for next year, getting prepared for the draft, whatever the case may be. It's still a lot of football to be played, and I really think if they can just make some changes, I don't think the division winner of this division is going to be 12-5. I think our division winner is going to be 10-7, and it could be 11-6. So I think Washington, they still have holes. They don't. It's some things that you can take advantage of with them. Philly, they ain't it. And we know what the Giants is. Now, Brian Broaddus did say something that caught my attention last night. He said that he thinks that it's going to only be one playoff team out of this division. So you're probably going to have to win it because the Central with Green Bay, the Lions, and the Vikings, they might have 3 teams out of that division. How many playoff teams is it now? 7?
Yeah.
So,
well, no, it's more than that. Well,
yeah, I think it's 7.
Yeah, 7. Okay, yeah, 7. It is.
So yeah. So this season ain't over. It's
just for statistic purposes. Let me say who's all the 3-3 teams are, and where they. Yeah, in the NFC, and where they are in their division. We are 3-3. We're third in our division. We're back by half a game. We're back by a game. I mean, one game behind them. And then the 49ers are 3-3. They number one in their franchise. I mean, in they division. The Seahawks is in their division and they 3-3. And they number two in the NFC West. And the Vikings is 5-0. The Lions is 4-1. The Bears are 4-2. The Packers are 4-2. So look at that division. That division, they all got 4 wins right now. All of them. So
you said something that caught my attention. So when the Cowboys and the 49ers play, they both gonna be 3-3. So again, that's just gonna be some intrigue to that game.
It's gonna be another one of these games, just like the other ones have been.
Yeah, so it's gonna be
the Falcons are 4-2. The Buccaneers are 4-2, and that what and you got
we play both of them. Yeah, so we still got to look at what's happening right now and what we're gonna be doing. Kind of keep the wheels on track, because that's really what it's all about. It's all about just staying competitive and at least staying in the playoff hunt for the full season.
I'm telling you right now, all of these teams, they are finna try to stick it to Jerry, Stephen, and McCarthy, just like Detroit did. They're gonna come in and they're gonna put up 60 points on you.
Well, what we're gonna talk about tomorrow, what these teams are gonna do, they're gonna look out there and they're gonna try to make a move to try to improve. That's what Buffalo did today. That's what let's see who else. The Jets. So it's players.
Let me say this before we wrap, and then you can finish that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Mark Cuban. You see, Mark Cuban, we really was able to watch Mark Cuban becoming the owner that he is, because we remember him when he first got started off. The Mavericks is a new franchise anyway, so most of the Mark Cuban, he one of them ones. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, he had a come in the God moment and just said, you know what, I'm probably not the best person to manage this team anymore. And the structure that I have set up is really not beneficial to the players and the fans. And I can tell what they need and what they want and where everybody else is going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire someone else to do all of that. I'm going to change the culture around here. I'm going to hire this person to hire my next coach, my next head coach, using a system, using software and engineering. And then I'm going to have that GM take over the scouting department and take over the organization of this, that part of this team. And that's when Nico came in, and they've been to the championship after championship ever since. I mean, literally. They the next year they went to a Western Conference Championship Finals the next year. So, and then they were bad, but just like another team, any other team, you expect to be bad for a rebound, because you be bad and then you come back strong the next year. That's exactly what happened. We missed the playoffs, but we had Luka, we had Kyrie Irving, we didn't even have what's the name yet. We didn't even have what's the name yet? What's the rookie name? Damn, I don't know why his name slipped my mind.
Lively?
Yeah, we didn't even have D Lively yet. So we didn't even have him. And then we got him and when we wasn't good, we missed the playoffs. That next year in the draft, Nico drafted Derek Lively. How did he know that Derek Lively was going to be just as good, or if not the best rookie of that? How did he know that? So, and and that's what happened. And then they went to the actual finals, the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, but see, there is no checks and balances. You don't have that all-star moment like that Michael Jordan had when Phil came in and told him, you're not going to be scoring champion no more. You're not going to be the central focus of the team anymore. You're going to have to make everybody else better. That was either going to work or it wasn't. If Michael didn't decide, yeah, he right, I'm gonna start auditioning, I'm gonna start doing the triangle and do it to other people, then it never would have been that way. If he would have been selfish and been like, nah, I'm not with that. I don't want to do it that way. I want it to be me. But he didn't do that. And so that's kind of what be happening. And Jerry hasn't done that because he's the general manager. He would have to fire himself. So that moment that hasn't came where they be like, you can do it this or you can do this. This way is going to work for sure. But if you want to do it like this, it's not going to work. You choose. And
So
Jerry,
there's a way we can kind of they can probably figure it all out. There's some ways that they can do it, but right now at the moment, we're gonna title this episode "Chickens Coming Home to Roost." What's happening is at the moment they just putting more chickens out there. I had the San Diego Super Chicken up there. They building super chickens. The chickens coming home to roost. Yeah. They using Church's chickens, Rudy's.
Williams.
They all coming back to bite them but there's a way for them to kind of figure this whole thing out. And even this year, I mean, it's not a total loss. So we're gonna just we're gonna just roll with it. We're gonna be putting out content because it's one thing about the Cowboys. It's always drama and it ain't gonna be boring. That's for sure. This ain't this ain't Atlanta. It ain't San Diego. This is Dallas. So
Dallas Cowboys.
Drama sells. So we're gonna be just rolling with it and putting out content and just kind of working through it. So we'll make it interesting and make it fun and figure this whole because it is a mess, but that's the fun part of it.
Like I said, yeah, that's the fun part of it because we're all on the same page as fans. At Cowboy Nation, that's what I like a lot too. I like that we all feel the same. We know what the problem is, and everybody feel the same. So it's gonna be that much sweeter when we win because we really are a strong fan base. So it's not like we ain't got no competition when it comes to fan base.
So we can go ahead and wrap, and we'll come back in tomorrow and do some more content, and we just kind of talk about some of this. Some of the things that we can do, start kind of looking ahead, and we'll do both. We'll talk about what's coming up. We got 2 weeks. We can just talk about quite a few stuff because we ain't got a game Sunday, so we can kind of just hit all of the different aspects of what's happening right now. So go ahead and take us out, and
all right. Yeah, so Cowboy Nation, everybody just stay tuned and make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And today was a busy day. Jerry and Steven, they had their interviews today. We didn't even talk about Steven's interview. We can talk about that tomorrow because Jerry stole the airwaves. He had to come on and let us know that,
And Steven ain't talking no noise.
Nah, because Steven ain't talking no noise.
But he got his limits too, so we'll see.
Yeah, we don't want to see him blow up. So, but I feel like Jerry is talking to Steven the same way that he was talking to us today. That's what I feel like.
The Spider-Man meme.
And I feel like it's a little bit more different when it's coming from him. That's why Steven really got to play his double. He got to do both things. He got to save face out here and just talk regular because he know when he hang up the phone, his dad's probably, on the Zoom. So, y'all make sure y'all come in, like, and subscribe, and we'll come back tomorrow with another episode. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about
we'll call it Chickens Coming Home to Roost Part 2.
Yeah, that's gonna be dope right there. Coming Home to Roost Part 2. So we'll see y'all on the next one. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and peace. We out.